We've learned that we can store many items inside the list. Now obviously we have to know how we can access those items, and that is done by means of the indexing operator, which is written as square brackets. That's really easy to remember because square brackets, as we have seen, are those that are used to define a list in the first place. So here we've got a list. These are the columns for alanine, and we assign it to the variable ala. And but first of all, you see here we can get the length of this list if we want by using the len keyword that we've already found to obtain the length of a string. And then we can access the elements we want by specifying their position inside the list. Now positions count is starting from 0, so element 0 is GCU, element 3 is the last element of this list, that would be GCG, and the length of the list is 4, so the index can vary from 0 to the length of the list -1. And now we noted here this fact that just as len works for strings but also for lists to give you their length, the indexing operator also works for strings, in which case if applied to a string, it returns the character at position specified here, in this case at position 1, where positions are counted starting from 0 again. So if you run this cell, you get a C because that's in position 1, 0, 1, 2. And so if you combine the two things, but this is really a bit of a gimmick, so if you find it confusing, don't worry about this. You see here we have a list, and the list contains strings. So if I take element 0 of this list, that would be the first element, that's GCU. Now GCU is a string, so I can take the third character of that, and that would be the U. Try it, it will work. And if you want to make it a little bit more clear, you can put brackets here so that it's clear that first you're taking the first element of this list, which is GCU, and that would be the string, and then you're taking the second element, the third element of that string, which is the U. This works just the same, but for some reason in practice, when using a double index, nobody puts brackets there, and they just write the indices side by side. So here are a few other tricks. What happens if you use a negative index? That starts counting from the end of the list. So my list of -1, normally you read this as off these brackets, would be the D. My list of -2 would be the C. And let's check it by running this. You see that's D, that's C. And this one is something different. This one is called slicing, and it consists in extracting a sublist by specifying the start index and the end index. If you write this way, you mean give me a list with all the elements from index 1 to index 3 excluded. That's indices 1 and 2, and that would be the B and the C character. And in fact, you see that has produced a list with just B and C inside. Now we have been using this indexing operator so far only to access elements of the list for printing them, but obviously we can also put our elements on the list on the left hand side, our positions in the list, and assign to them, so we can use indexing to modify elements of the list. See, for instance, here we start from this list and then we change the last position of this list, so the F, we assign Z to that. So that will override the F and we will have a Z instead. And then we can make my list of 0, so this position, equal to my list of 1, so that position. If we run this code, you will see first position can equal to a second position. The last position has become Z. Here we are. So what does this one do? As we have seen, this is a slicing operator, so it's essentially a sublist, and it's a sublist of elements in positions 2 and 3, which would be 0, 1, 2, and 3. There are these two positions, and we assign another list to that, the list made of these two strings, wah wah. Now, if we print the entire list, you see that positions 2 and 3, which would have been these two, are in fact replaced by 1.